Today on Susquehanna Xpress, we're going to be talking about Daystar Center for Spiritual Recovery. We have Reverend Larry Coleman and Willie Williams here today, who are staff members from that center. Thank you for coming.
Yes,
so much. Appreciate being here.
So I'm really excited to talk to you about this center. Can you give our viewers and me a little bit of a background of how this got started?
Well, yes. Over 18 years ago, my wife had the vision. She loved to start things, had worked at Muncie State Correctional Institution as chaplain, found herself with me in Harrisburg, and saw the opportunity to use a facility that was available to start a place for recovering persons. First she wanted to do women, but she found that the need was with men. She had worked on her CAC while she was working at the ARC, Salvation Army, for 5 years, and just felt that we could make a difference in individuals' lives by the church being involved in this ministry. And she was able to make anything happen, and she made this happen.
So what are some ways that she did involve the church in the recovery process?
Well, she worked with the Board of Church and Society, talked about this. They helped sponsor this. She got a grant from the General Church to begin the program. Got lay persons involved. We have lay persons on the board. And we had some pastors on the board through the time too. So this has been really a joint project. She didn't do it all. She worked with others. The testimony to that is that after she died 9.5 years ago, it kept going. Mm-hmm. Of course, she got me involved, or they got me involved as interim director back then, and now here I am in the resignation of our recent director, trying to serve as interim administrative director.
All right, and I think I heard you say earlier that Daystar has a house for the recovering persons. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, we're on 18th Street in Harrisburg, okay. Just south of State Street. We have 14 beds there. We have a recovery house adjacent to it that has another 4 beds, and another recovery house over on Walnut Street that has 3 beds in it for persons that have completed the program and need additional support and a place to live. Try to give them some support. But we have a facility that is zoned rooming house that we can provide this transitional 3-month program. Most of the guys stay 3 months. We can occasionally get an extension where they transition back into the community. And so the church is offering a bridge for these individuals between a rehab facility where they've done intensive treatment for 28 days, for example, and then after being isolated from community, really focused on themselves, begin that process of reestablishing themselves in the community, getting their job, developing friends and relationships, where possible, restoring their relationships with their family. That's what we do.
So the rehab centers then can refer people to you once they have completed that.
That's exactly right.
Great. Willie, can you explain what's the typical day or the typical 3-month process of the Daystar program?
Well, it's always adjustment at first because, coming to a program like Daystar, you think of it as more or less like a rehab, but we're not exactly a rehab. We're a spiritual program. Okay. So we actually understand the recovery process, but yet we add the spiritual part in it also. Most of us are also recovering, so we ourselves understand where they're coming from, so we help them with the process in itself.
Okay. So what are some of the differences from the 28-day rehab program that people have gone through to whenever they come to this bridge into the community at Daystar?
Well, like I said, being in recovery myself, I can understand, some of the same problems that they have when they come in. Since was in recovery, I had the same problems. There's more likeness than there are dislikes, And it's just the knowing of recognizing them, because I didn't recognize mine at first, Mostly it's fear. Once you conquer the fear and realize and have that self-confidence that you can do once again, then that's when you open up and then you can find your way through that way.
And that's the process. You are isolated in a rehab center just with that group of people who are going through treatment, but now at Daystar, you're coming back out in the community, have to begin to relate to everyday life.
Exactly.
So are there Bible studies, daily Bible studies? Or?
Yes, we have Bible studies, and we also have, you know, what we call inspirational studies too. Like we have Driven Purpose, which it deals with, you know, 30 days of, you know, positive scriptures, which will get our day started. We have devotions every morning, you know, to start our day off, because we wake up in God and we pray at night also.
As a monitor, what are some things that you said you can recognize in the other folks that are at the house? What are some ways that you felt that you've helped people in their recovery process?
Well, you know, besides the fear, you know, most people they're anxious, you know, to get back into society, but, you know, we teach them patience, you know. We make them realize that, you know, just because you're anxious to get back into society, there are things that you must need to work on also before, you know, you reunite with society. And one of them is, you know, just basic spiritual principles, like, you know, patience, humility, because, you know, coming out of some of the rehabs and, you know, institutions that they're in, you know, they don't have a lot of spiritual principles.
That's a good point. I'm sure that once people have gone through rehab, they're ready. They want to get plugged back into society. So I'm sure it can be frustrating if not all of those things are falling into place right away. Exactly. So what is one experience that sticks out in your mind from Daystar Ministries that was really impactful?
These last 3 weeks have been quite an impactful experience. That's how long I've been doing this as administrative director. I've been on the board since the beginning. But I had the opportunity last week to sit on devotions and seeing 11 of the 14 men that we have with us talk about their relationship with God, about the empowerment they felt from their spiritual walk, go deep inside about the issues they were facing one by one by one. It just touched me enormously. It even got me involved in looking at my own life and saying, oh, I can identify with that, and wanting to share a little bit about what God was doing in my own life. So that was just really a confirmation that what we're about is really working and that God is involved in this.
Absolutely. I think it's a wonderful way for the people to have not only mentors, but also be surrounded with others that are going through the same process that they are. What are some ways that churches could reach out and be a welcome home to those who are recovering?
Very good question. I think that, first of all, to be ready to welcome anyone, it takes a special church in some ways to be a place where a person who has dealt with an addiction and feels like they're going to reject me, and they feel guilty themselves about some of the things they've done, so going to church is a challenging step. So we really need to show them implicitly and explicitly that we're forgiven sinners ourselves, and this is a place where forgiven sinners are welcome. Forgiveness is a key. Would you say that's true, Willie?
Yes, I would. I would definitely say that. I think it's awesome, you know, the way they built back my self-esteem, you know, and I've realized that, you know, I'm no different than Mr. Coleman is himself. But, you know, when I first got there, you couldn't tell me that, you know, at all.
Do you remember, was there something that really broke that through to you, that you realized that everybody is all a sinner together and we're all just trying to worship God?
Yes. I remember when my time was just about up. And, you know, that's when it hit me, the fear of, you know, actually going back out there. And, you know, I remember she was my counselor. Her name was Natalie. She said, you know, well, as a graduate, you're not alone. You're always welcome back at Daystar. And then that hit me that, you know, that was the truth. I'm never alone as long as Daystar was there for me.
What a wonderful message and testimony to the work that Daystar is doing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're a family. We don't graduate out of the family, we graduate into the family of recovery.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you for sharing. If you would like more resources of how your church can be more open to those who are recovering, if you contact me on my Facebook page, I can get information for you. So check out my Facebook page at Susquehanna Xpress.
All right.